Okay, so this is basically what if Deku was betrayed by UA Hero, the hero version. So we start off at where Deku, and he's still gonna have the rough childhood, or if some of y'all have probably haven't watched the other one, like the villain side, but I made another one. I made what if Deku was betrayed by a UA villain, but this is the hero. So we see Deku going to the quirk doctor. He's 4 years old, and as he's going to the quirk doctor, to his mama, forgot her name. I mean, Izuku's mama. She basically, well, she goes to the quirk doctor, and she says, "My little Izuku, are you ready to get your quirk?" And he says, "Yeah, I'm gonna have, I'm gonna, I'm gonna be the number one hero. My quirk is gonna be so powerful." And basically, in this one, he gonna be the reincarnation of Hajime, but he gonna be betrayed by UA too. So so after he goes to quirk doctor, and the doctor says, "Kid, it ain't happening. You're not getting a quirk." And the mom looks at Izuku with like disgust. And they get home, and he goes to his chair thingy, and he when he goes to his chair, he watches the All Might film, or a short video of him saving him, or saving the people. And basically, his mom walks in there, and my instead of saying Izuku-kun, instead of saying my Izuku, um, she says, "You're just a quirkless loser," and she slaps him. And basically, after she slaps him, Izuku, he cries and says, "Why are you doing this to me?" And she says, "Cause you're a quirkless bastard." Just you quirkless bastard. And and basically, 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 he asks, and then she says, "You're a quirkless bastard," and she hits him again, and he I'm gonna say she punches him, and he gets knocked out, and basically he gets to school, and Kachan is like, Kachan is like, Kachan is like, "Hey Izuku, where's your quirk?" And he looks down and says, "I don't got one," but he has a bond, but he has a quirk. He has a he has a quirk. Hold on, I'm sorry. Okay, so after Deku tells Kachan he doesn't have a quirk, um, Kachan looks at him, and the boy with the wings say, "What? That loser doesn't have a quirk." "Kachan, are you really hanging out with him?" And Kachan says, word for his pop or population, or I forgot what it's called, popularity. He's worried for his popularity, and he pushes Deku down and says, "No, I'm not. I wasn't hanging out with that quirkless loser." And basically, he's like, "Yeah, come on." And then Deku looks at Kachan, and Deku looks at Kacchan and he says, I thought we were friends. And basically, Kacchan says, who want to be friends with a quirkless loser like you? And after he says that, basically, after he says that, oh god, after he says that, Deku, he cries and he says, you are my only friend and I don't have any friends left. And Kacchan, he's feeling bad, but he's not sure, and he says, shut up, you nerd. And he sparks him because you know Kacchan, his quirk hasn't like his quirk hasn't it's like it hasn't activated like he can't get explosions, so he shoots Deku with a spark and it leaves a little cut a cut a cut there. And yeah, and basically and yeah, and as he says, you're my last friend. He walks home, and or I will say his mom picks him up. She's like 4 years old, and as he says, as he gets in the car, he says, hey, mommy, and she says, don't. This is the profanity part. She says, don't fucking call me that, you bastard. You quirkless bastard. I'm not your mom. And Deku cries and says, why are you doing this to me? I didn't do anything to you. And he says, and Deku's mom says, yeah, you did something. You're a quirkless bastard. And she punches him in the face. And it leaves a bloody nose and a bruised eye. Basically, they get home. And she says, you don't address me as your mother. You address me as Miss. And basically, and basically, um, basically, when it's time skip, on a time skip, like, I'm gonna say 2 or 4, 6, 7, 8. Want to skip 8 years, and basically Izuku, he's in training. He's been working out his body in these 8 years, trying to get tough, like doing sit-ups, runs, and stuff like that. And basically, and yeah. So basically, after, oh gee, no, sorry. Um, after after this time skip, he tries to get in the UA and they're in the classroom, and Bakugo he feel kind of bad for Deku, and he yes sir, Bond, he's crazy, but bro, Bond can't die. Just run through those vines. But it's like basically, yes sir. And basically, and basically, um, And basically, which of them dies? God. Basically, they're sitting in the classroom, and the teacher is like, how are you gonna um you're all gonna go to UA, or you all want to go to UA, so I don't have to give you these papers. And basically, yes sir, Elaine. That's what I'm talking about. And basically, I'm recording. Alright, yeah, I am. Basically, what? Kachan, he says, oh, or the teacher says, oh, and we have two students trying out for UA. And Kachan said, who's the other one? And it better not be that quirkless loser. And Deku looks around, and and the teacher says, Deku was hoping that the teacher doesn't say anything, and the teacher says, "Oh, Deku, you say you're trying out for UA too, right?" And Deku, he's like, "Dang it, you had to say it." And everybody starts laughing, and Kachan says, "You think you're trying to get better than me? How are you, crazy loser?" And he goes out, he like explodes his way to Deku's desk, and basically he just he just blows Deku in the chest, and when I say it burns his shirt, and they see all the scars that Deku got, and yeah, and the teacher is like, Deku, how'd you get on the scars? And he says, none of your business. And as he puts on I'm gonna say he has a jacket. He puts his jacket on and zips it up, and and basically, and basically. Basically, he zips his jacket, and some of the people they're worried about Deku. They're like, "Man, how would he get off the scars?" And he says, and some of them they look deep, like he was beaten. And then Kachan said, he said, "Quirk Lizard, tell me how you got all those scars now." And Izuku said, Deku says, Deku says, you don't need to know. You don't need to know all that. That's personal information. And so basically, yeah. So yeah, and I'm gonna time skip where Deku gets to UA, and that Sledge Villain stuff is really not gonna happen. I really don't know why they actually put that in there. And Deku, he's not gonna fanboy over All Might, and he's not gonna fanboy over All Might, and he's not gonna fanboy over All Might like he does. So so after after he after he after he gets into UA, well, he passes the UA exams, and we're gonna say that Deku, all this training has Deku, he's like staying and his agility and stuff and speed and strength is like Stain's. But he's like nothing like Stain. He's just the agility and stuff, and his traits. Besides, like his stats, his stats. But basically, and basically, um, and basically, he he lost his. And basically, and so basically, after he goes to the turning exams or the entrance exams, he passes the ball throw thingy, the run race, and and basically after he did that, oh, um, after he did that, he passed the he passed the exam, and he got, I'm gonna say, he got 10th place. He got 10th place, and they go to the million points thing. And so, sorry for the wait. Basically, Izuku, basically he basically, yeah, sorry, King. So basically, yes, sir, Harley. And so after basically, basically, I'm just gonna skip all that. And Deku, he gets 10th place in everything. Besides, just he gets 10th place and he passes. And he gets a class 1A. And Bakugo's there. Bakugo says, "Why is this quirkless loser in this class with me?" And everybody's surprised that he's quirkless. And Bakugo tries to explode Deku. And Deku, he moves. He jumps behind Bakugo and kicks him in the back. It says, "Don't try that again." And Bakugo, he says, "How are you getting stronger than me?" And he gets angry. And basically, and and basically, and basically, he is basically getting beaten around, like, no, Deku is getting beaten around by I mean Baku no Deku is beating on yes, sir, Harley Quinn. Deku, he's beating on yes, sir, Deku, he's beating on Bakugo. And while he's beating on Bakugo, Aizawa, he comes in and he tries to cancel Deku's quirk, but nothing happens, and he doesn't know that Deku's quirkless. And he uses his scarf. And when he uses his scarf, Guardian. And after King, sorry, After Isaiah wrapped him in a scarf. Um, After Isaiah wrapped him in a scarf, we see we see Isaiah saying, "How come?" He says, "What's your quirk?" And how did when I tried to cancel it, it didn't work. And he looks down, but he looks Aizawa in the eye, says, "I don't have a quirk." And Aizawa drops him and says, "What? How did a quirkless loser? How did a quirkless loser like you get into UA?" And basically, Deku says, "That's just how it is. All you have to do is work hard. Hard work is the key to success." And we're gonna skip to the UA training where they go and the villains come there. And basically, everything happens when Kirishima and everything, and All Might, or when Deku punches the Nomu this time, I'm gonna say the Nomu, he has shock absorption, and he has the regular powers, but he gets beat. Deku he tries to punch, or he tries to do a barrage of a combo of barrages, and it doesn't phase enough the Nomu at all. And Shigaraki says, "Kill that boy," while scratching his neck, and the Nomu grabs Deku. Deku said, or Deku sorry, Deku he just he basically he basically basic, basically um he the Nomu grabs Deku by his his stomach waist area, and he squeezes Deku. Or he doesn't squeeze Deku. He throws Deku to the wall. And we're gonna say the only one who tries to stand up for Deku is Momo. She tries to create something. I'm gonna say she creates a wall. And she goes to Izuku and creates some bandages and said, "Are you okay, Izuku?" And he says yeah. And he gets back up. And she's surprised because let's say his shirt got ripped. And she sees all the scars on his body. And she says, "What happened?" And no, she says, in her mind, she says, "How do you get out those scars?" And basically, Izuku, he tries to charge back at the Nomu. This time with Momo. He says, "Momo, can you create me a weapon?" And she creates him a dagger. And she says, "Sorry, I can't create anything bigger than this." And he says, "No problem." And she grabs the dagger, and he goes to attack the Nomu, and he stabs the Nomu, but it just regenerates. And Shigaraki says, that won't work on my Nomu. And basically, when he says that won't work on my Nomu, Deku says he tries to hit him again, and he realizes that the the thing has he's that he says, "No way, this thing has shock resolution, or whatever I said, shock, whatever it's called." And All Might comes and All Might basically grabs Deku, or All Might, he punches the Nomu, and the Nomu just absorbs it, shock absorption, and he just absorbs the punch. And Deku, Izuku, he says, "All Might, you here?" And he says, and Deku says, and Deku says, um, Deku says, help. All Might says, Deku says, help. And we're gonna say, Stain is watching this. And he's watching this. He wanted to help the heroes. And he intervened. He intervened from, he intervened. He wanted to intervene, but he didn't. And then, basically, he basically, he basically says, he basically, well, he didn't say anything. He asked All Might for some help, and All Might says, All Might looks at Deku in disgust. He says, yeah. And then he goes beside him, he said, please, what's your quirk? It could really come in handy. We never know. And Deku, he says, I don't have a quirk. And All Might, he says, All Might pushes Deku, or he throws Deku towards the Nomu. And when he does this, when he throws the Deku towards the Nomu, Deku says, what are you doing? And Deku, he's getting pounded by the Nomu. He has broken ribs, and his ribs are puncturing his lungs, making it hard for him to breathe. He's coughing up blood slowly and dying. He would die in the next hour if he doesn't get medical attention. And basically, All Might says, I'm not helping a quirkless loser." And Momo sees this, and she says, "Izuku, no." And she runs up to Mo. She tries to run up to Izuku, and All Might, or let's say Kirishima, holds, or the dude with the electric quirk, I forgot his name. He holds her back and says, "No, you can't. You'll die." And she looks at Deku, and I want to say Deku, he can still hear, but he can't move or talk. And he hears Momo screaming, and Izuku, no. Izuku, no. And basically, after she says this, he says this, Deku passes out and goes to his mindscape, and while he's in his mindscape, and after he gets in his mindscape, he sees someone about in his 20s, and he with a eye patch and a iron arm on him, and he says, "Who are you?" And he says, "My name is Hajime. I forgot Hajime last name. I think it's like Nasakame or something like that. But he says my name is Hajime. And he says you are my reincarnation." And then Izuku says, "Wait, so you're me?" And Hajime says, "No." He says, if you was just to listen, you would understand." And he said, "As I said, you are my reincarnation. I'm you." And basically, But ooh, basically, he says, I'm gonna give you my power. Okay? And after he says, I'm gonna give you my power, Deku says, what are your powers? And he names all his quick steps and aerodynamics and all that stuff. And his eyes and his arm. I'm gonna say Deku loses his eye and arm in the process of he was getting smashed by the Nomu. Or he didn't lose his arm, it's just that every bone in his thing got shattered and he had like no bone left. It was only dust of bones in his arm. And basically he's like um he's like he can't move it at all. And his nerves are dislocated, everything is like out of place. So he says it looks like your arm is pretty banged up. And he says, yeah, it is. And in Hajime, I'm gonna say he shoots it off. In his mindscape, he shoots it off. And in the real world, we just see an iron arm growing, or an iron arm on Izuku. And basically, after he gets the iron arm, um, basically he shows that he shows that that he it shows on the outside world that he gets a new arm and an eye. And Momo says, what's happened to Izuku? And Kirishima says, Izuku's dead. And she says, no, look. And Kirishima sees the eye and the arm changing. And we're gonna say, that that lizard that Deku killed. We're gonna say that lizard had regenerative powers. I mean, that lizard that Hajime killed, but whatever it was, it had regenerative powers. And basically, the regenerative powers, it healed Deku. It healed everything in his body, and he got his hair turned white, or his hair turned black. His hair turned black, and basically, basically, and basically, and basically, as he um as he as he gets up and they see the appearance change in Izuku. They see he pulled two guns out of nowhere, and he just started blasting at the Nomu and just going off on him. And basically, he reloads and he shoots the Nomu in the brain. And basically, after shooting the Nomu in the brain, the Nomu dies. And All Might is like, "How did you acquire so much power? You have to be working with the off one. You're a villain." And Deku says, "No, I'm not no villain. You just see me getting beaten there to a bloody pulp, and you let it happen." And he says, "You don't deserve the title. Number one hero. You're scum." And basically, he goes after he kills the Nomu. He starts shooting at Shigaraki, but Shigaraki, I bet Kirikiri warps, and then after he warps, the bullets in nothing, and they hit the wall. And Izuku, he says, "Well, looks like I have to clean up your mess, clean up. Looks like I have to clean up." And he he jumps. He does aero quick. I think it was aerodynamic. He does aerodynamic and quick step. And basically, he he stands aerodynamic. Um, and yeah, basically, he shoots. He started shooting. He started shooting and shooting. The other, he shoot. He shoots. He shoots and shoots all the other villains, and they just seem. And Deku is enjoying this, and they're seeing how Deku is. They're seeing how Deku is killing with no intent, and no fear, and he's actually smiling while he's killing, him, and yeah. So after that, um, Deku he quick steps with aerodynamics down to the ground, like to the floor, and he said he said he just left, and when he left, he didn't go to. I want to say they'd been at the dorm. He said, and he just went to his dorm, and when he went to his dorm, basically he just started training and aiming, and he went back to his mindscape, and he said, Hajime, oh, he said sensei, and and Hajime said what, and he said, can you teach me some more of your powers? And he started teaching him of the with the eye and how it can make cars and anything. You just have to understand it. And yeah, that's basically, and yeah, that's basically, and after Hajime, after Hajime, after Hajime teaches him some stuff, um, he teaches him, I'm gonna say he teaches him the move where, or he teaches him everything, and along he like everything that Hajime makes in the castle or in the series he makes and yeah, and starts attacking. He starts attacking. Well, he doesn't attack. He starts training him, and yeah, and basically, after he trains him, after he starts training him, we times in Deku's mind, it's been 2 days, and in the outside world, it's been an hour, and and he wakes up and he hears a knock on the door. And Deku, he opens the door and says, well, he says, what do you want? And he hears All Might's voice. And he says, young Midoriya, I've come here to apologize to you. And Izuku says, I don't want this profanity part. He says, I don't want your damn apology. Get the hell out of here before I kill you. And All Might, he says, but I'm the number one hero. You can't treat me. He said, I'm the number one hero. You should treat me with respect. And Deku, he opens the door, and he points a gun to All Might's head, and he said, did you treat me? And Izuku says, did you treat me with respect when you handed me over to those villains? And Izuku and All Might just shut up, and Izuku said, yeah, that's what I thought. And he kicks and he slams the door on All Might, and after he slams the door on All Might, 15 minutes later, he hears another knock on the door, and then he says, God, I can't take a break, can I? He opens the door and he sees Momo, and Izuku says, oh hey Momo, and and Izuku, I mean say Momo, she was the only one who was nice to him, Momo, and just Momo, and basically he said, oh hey Momo, in a nice soft tone voice, and I want to say in those 15 minutes, other people started knocking at his door, saying, is he okay? And he answered them with a fearful tone. And when Mama answered, he answered with a soft tone. And she was shocked. She said, I just came by here to check if to see if you're okay. And Izuku said, yeah, I'm fine. And she says, I also have to ask you another question. And Deku says, what is it? And Izuku says, what is it? And she says, why didn't you answer because I've been getting rumors about when people answered your door, you gave them a evil tone. And he smiles and says, well, that's because you're the only one that treated me well. He said you were the only one that treated me like a friend. And he fist bumps. Well, he holds out his fist for her to fist bump. To fist bump. And she hugs him and says, thank you, Izuku. And basically, I'm saying he wasn't dating Uraraka. So, as he, and I really want to leave it off right there. I'm trying to watch 7 Deadly Sins, but no. And as Izuku, he basically he attacks, and yeah. So basically, or he don't. Why did I say he attacks? He doesn't do anything, and Mama blushes when she hugs, or Izuku blushes when she hugs him, and yeah, and yeah, and basically, and we see. And when Izuku blushes, Momo smiles, and she doesn't say anything. She just smiles, and and basically, Hajime, he goes, and Deku, he goes back to sleep. He doesn't want to go to his mind state, but he actually goes to his mind state, and he says, oh, I'm back here again, and Hajime says, yeah, and he says, you actually, got you a girl, and he says, I don't have a girl, man. And he said, yeah, you do. The girl you just hugged, she likes you. And he says, no, she doesn't. She's just a friend. And Izuku says, I mean, yeah. And she's just a friend. And basically, Melia, I mean, um, and Bond. I mean, not Bond. Hutch and Deku says, okay, whatever he's saying, man. And he goes back. And we're gonna leave it out. Actually, no. We're gonna go where he goes to there. I go to that training ground where they all try to learn their new abilities and stuff like that. And, and basically, he doesn't, or basically, basically, dang, my million points, this. And they go to the training ground. And as he says this, um, they go to the training ground and they train, and they're all looking at Deku, and Deku he's just creating targets and shooting them, and he keeps doing this to try to improve his accuracy. And I want to say Deku, he's restraining his power. Hajime told him to, because if he were to let it all out, then he wouldn't be able to control it. So he told Deku to restrain his power, and basically after they get done training, they go to a pizza place and they just eat. And Deku gets home, he takes a shower, and he goes to bed. And the next day of school, Deku he he arrives in the outfit that Hajime does, but not with the long gold coat. He only got Hajime's jacket. He only got Hajime's jacket on. And well, no, I'm gonna say he has Hajime's attire on. Basically, yeah. And and basically, yeah, and yeah, and as he goes, as he wakes up, he goes to school in Hajime's attire, and they're like, Lita or Ida comes up to him. He says, "You're not allowed to wear that." And Deku just walks past him, and he goes to class, and he sits all the way in the back, and want to say, he sits by Momo's seat. And Momo's seat is to the left of him, and he didn't know this, cause he never looked back when he was in class. So yeah, and after he get out of class, Bakugo, he walks in there and he says, "How are you stronger than me? Than me, you nerd." And yeah, and Deku says, it's just pure willpower. Yeah. And yeah. And as we see Bakugo trying to go punch Deku. Deku, he shoots Bakugo in the leg. Bakugo shoots Bakugo shoots Deku in the leg, and he says, "Don't run up on me, or you gonna get hit with this mech." And Bakugo says, "What? What'd you say to me?" And he runs up on him again, but instead of Deku shoots him in the shoulder, and he just said, "Hey fool, I told you to run up on me." And Bakugo shot. He just shot his childhood friend, and he said, instead of saying Kacho, he says Bakugo, and he says, or not, no, he doesn't. And yeah, and basically, we see Aizawa comes to the classroom and he sees blood on the floor from the Bakugo, and he's like, what happened? And he says what happened, and what happened to Bakugo? And Bakugo says that nerd shot me, and Bakugo says, and Deku says, I was only defending myself, and he says in a smirk way, and Momo says, yeah, I saw him. Bakugo shot the run up on him, and he was just defending himself, and basically after that, um, basically we see Deku getting out of class, and I want to say he goes, it's time for gym, and he goes in the locker room, and he takes off his shirt, and he starts to and I want to say the boys and the girls, they in the same room, but at the same time they're not. It's like the thing is split in half, and I want to say we see Momo walking out of her side, of the girl side of the room, and she sees the scars on Izuku's back, and she sees Izuku crying and says, "Why does this have to be me?" Yeah, I'm gonna say he's the only one on the boy side, and he says I was beaten by everyone I love. And he cries, and he says, and he punches his locker, and he says, "Get over it, just get over it." And basically, Momo hears this, and she starts crying, and she goes to Deku, or she starts like tears falling out her eyes, and she goes to Deku, and she says, and yeah, and yeah, and then as she does this, and I see as and basically he he sees what is their name? He sees him going to the gym, Bond already know that. But yeah. And and we see and yeah. And as they're returning to the gym, when I say Deku, he doesn't have a long sleeve. So they see the cuts on his arms and everywhere. And yeah, everybody sees the scars on his arms, he and yeah, and and she sees they all see Deku's scars, and they're like, man, that's messed up. What happened to him? He's been through rough times. And Deku, he fights. What the heck? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go back over there, Bond. Go see your captain. And so after we see after we see Melly, I mean, oh my God, they say um Bakugo and Bakugo um and Deku they have to fight. And he says and Bond or say goodbye. Fuck time. And so as we see, and then I'm going against each other. Bakugo says, "I'm gonna beat you, you nerd." And 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 Deku he smiles. And he says, "Sure." So if you wanna say Deku he pulls out a sword. He creates a sword, and yeah. So as we see, Bakugo and 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 we see, and he creates his dagger, and Bakugo goes to Deku, Bakugo goes to Deku. Bakugo goes to Deku. Oh, we see Melly, and he rushes. And Deku, basically Deku, he rushes at Bakugo with his dagger, and he slices Deku in his arm. When he slices Bakugo in his arm, and says, "You're too weak for me, Bakugo." And he throws the dagger at his back, and he retracts it back like Thor's hammer. He basically does that, and he basically after that, and after that, he goes to he goes to he goes to and he retracts back and he gets the knife. He throws it full speed at what's the name head, Bakugo head, and then it knock him out, and like it hits him with the handle part and it knocks him out. And basically when it knocks him out, basically um he ends the battle. Aizawa ends the battle and says, Deku is a winner. And this is where I'm gonna leave it off at. Or I'm gonna leave it off here, but I got something to say. Otis could have easily beat his brothers in the Ten Commandments if he would have just went any part of his demon form and not just that weak old with his demon form with his slit in his eye. He should have went like berserker or rage mode or something. Like, what happened, bro? What happened? And like, bro, you got all this power and you in your base form. That's like Broly. That's like Broly fighting Vegeta, and that's like Broly fighting Vegeta in Kakarot. Like, you're in your base form, bro. Your base form. You have all this power, and you're in your base form. Like, you got a Super Saiyan, and then you got Super Broly. Like, bro, what happened? Oh, I got something else to say. If Broly was in, if you go to YouTube and you search him Anime War, if Broly was in Anime War, those guys, they wouldn't stand a chance, bro. If Broly would have went Omni God, they'd have been dead. That's all I gotta say, man. They would have been dead.